Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Canessa coming to you from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 28th day of November in the year 2023. Sure hope you're enjoying your Tuesday, no matter where it is you are in the country. Here in the Northeast, gray, overcast, cold. Tony Mondero says there may be a little snow dusting today. Isn't that a wonderful way to say goodbye to the month of November with snow? But nothing too accumulating, so hopefully we won't get hit too hard today. I want to thank you, as you do each and every Tuesday, for joining me here on The Observer Live. And before I get into that, we welcome in a few people who are watching us on the chat right now. Melanie Ryan, she figured it out because she hadn't been getting alerts, and now she got the alerts, so I'm very glad she got that. I guess she had to click on a button on all notifications, not just live. I don't know, that's weird, but I'm glad that it worked. We're also joined today by our friend Manny Ventoso, who is out and about, I'm sure, working in this frigid weather. Manny, hope you're staying warm somehow, no matter where you are today. Where are you today, by the way? Let us know in the chat room where it is that you are hanging out. And, of course, also here with us today is my birthday sister and dear friend, Carol Manley. We were born on the 21st night of September, even though I was born at 1:34 a.m., but it's much easier to say the 21st night of September, thanks to Earth, Wind, and Fire. And before I get into everything, I want to say a special word of thanks to Carol and to Mama June and the Manley family. I'm going to tell you a quick story. A week ago today, I was in utter agony. I did not go to work a week ago today, which is, of course, the reason why there was no Observer Live last week, the first time in 7 years that we missed a week. And I apologize in advance for that. But at first I thought I had food poisoning because a couple of days earlier, I went to the Nutley Diner for dinner with my friend Dominic, as we do most Saturday nights. And I had a cheeseburger, and it was a little red. I didn't send it back, even though I usually get a medium-well cheeseburger, but I just took it. And then the next day, it started to all happen where, like things that you can't believe are inside a human body were being expelled. But then the pain got so bad, it was really bad on Monday, and then by Tuesday, forget about it. I was in just horrible, horrible pain. I couldn't even get around. So I eventually went to see Dr. Amit Doshi, who is Dr. Prakash Doshi's son, over at Premier Care, which is now located in Harrison, as well as the Kearny office over on Beach Street by Oakwood Avenue. So he had an ultrasound ordered for me, and he prescribed antibiotics. I took the antibiotics. The pain eventually went away by Saturday or Friday, I guess it was, but it was really bad. So I wasn't able to make it to my mother's place for Thanksgiving. It was a real bummer. It really was, but there was no way I could travel because I was in so much pain, and the only time I got any relief was when I had a heating pad on. And so, don't you know, I was chatting with Carol. I told her how I was feeling. And then on Thanksgiving Day, that night, she brought over to me a feast. It was beautiful. And it was the first time I had started to feel better. And I had an incredible Thanksgiving dinner, thanks to Carol and her mother, June, and their whole family, really. And one of the best stuffings I've ever had, as I told Carol, and she told her mother, June. But, it's moments like that where I'm so used to being the one to help others that it's always humbling when it happens to you. And so all I can say to Carol and to her family is thank you for that and for making my Thanksgiving a salvaged success, because I didn't think it was going to be too exciting. I thought it was going to be kind of sucky, really. And instead, it was most memorable. So I will never be able to repay Carol for her kindness. Thank you so very much. Now, before I go on to other things, there's a few other people who are in the room. Our own Lisa Fiorenzo is about 15 feet away in the other office, so she's watching us live here from Kearny as well. Hi, Lisa. It's good to see you. Manny is in the Ironbound, where he says parking is worse than in Kearny. I don't believe it. I don't don't think any place is worse than Kearny, is it? But I guess I believe it because you said so. But that's the only reason. But I do find that it's amazing. The parking situation continues here. We'll get into that another day. Larry Hanlon is with us as well. Larry, good afternoon to you. I will be talking about you in a few minutes, so stand by if you have anywhere to go. I hope you'll stick by. Manny, thank you. I'm feeling so much better. Thank you. Yes, I truly appreciate it. Melanie says the snow showed at Seton Hall in South Orange. Oh boy. So it's snowed a little bit in Seton Hall, and there are some flurries being reported right now in Harrison. And thank you, Carol. I feel the same way too. I really appreciate it. Now, there's a few housekeeping items that I want to get to before we get into today's broadcast. The first one is this. This is a reminder of something that I mentioned to you a couple of weeks ago, but the Hudson County Community College Scholarship Fund is hosting a trip to Wind Creek Casino in Pennsylvania for the benefit of the Hudson County Community College Scholarship Fund. And it is Sandy Doran who is running this program. And a bus will leave Kearny Bank on December 10th at 9:15 a.m. 9:15 a.m. The cost is $50. And every single penny of that donation will go to the Hudson County Community College Scholarship Fund. Jimmy, I believe, is on the board there, at least for the culinary school. Melanie can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's where he's involved. And Sandy's running the trip, and it's only $50. And if you're not a gambler, there are outlets in Bethlehem, the Wind Creek outlets that you can go to. So if you're looking for a nice day of shopping, or if you want to go and you want to waste your money by gambling, you can do that as well. The bus leaves right from Kearny Bank on Kearny Avenue, and all it takes is a $50 fee. And you're helping out a phenomenal cause. I understand there are a few tickets left, so please don't wait. It's only a couple of days out, believe it or not. So make that call to Sandy as quickly as you can at 201-320-6499. Again, 201-320-6499. Make that call today. Don't waste any more time and get out there and have a good day at Wind Creek. And if you go, here's the biggest selling point of them all. You can hang out with Deputy Mayor Melanie Ryan, and who wouldn't want to spend a day like that? I tell you, you want to do this. Make sure you get involved. Now, this is another big event that's coming up in the next few days. In fact, it is Saturday. The Kearny Recreation Commission and the Rec Department, in conjunction, are having a Meet Santa event that will take place at the town hall. And I had an opportunity to speak with Lila DeCastro, the mayor's aide, who has been on the Kearny Recreation Committee for, get this, 25 years. I can't believe it's 25 years, but that is exactly how long Lila has been on the Recreation Commission, and she is as dedicated to this as you could ever find anybody. The whole Recreation Commission is, too. You know, Lou Batista, and they work with Ralph Catafee. Everybody who's on that group does a phenomenal job. But this event is specifically geared for children from Kearny who are 5 to 10 years old. Okay, you have to be a Kearny resident to go. That's the major requirement. It's supposed to be for kids 5 until 10. Look, if you're 4 and like 11, 12 years of age, I don't think they're going to turn you away. If you're 10 years and 1 month old, they're not going to say you're too old, you can't go. So use your discretion. And the whole idea is that when you limit it to an age group of 5 to 10, there's only so much room for people, and you run the risk of having entirely too many people if you open it up from birth until 10 years old. So they have to keep some limitations on this, so keep that in mind. But if you go, you can have your picture taken with Santa. Most people, Lila tells me, take a picture with their cell phones. However, a professional photographer will be on hand that day, and they will send the pictures to anybody who doesn't have a cell phone camera or a camera of their own. So that's another added addition to this. All the kids are going to get cupcakes and goodies and gift cards. They don't give away prizes or gift bags, but I believe every child walks away with a gift card. So you can't beat that. And if you have kids who are in that age group and you get them to write a letter to Santa, there will be a special mailbox on hand at Town Hall on Saturday where you can drop off your letter to Santa, and Santa will answer all of those letters. So make sure, if you're bringing your child, that you have a letter ready to give to Santa Claus to drop off at the mailbox. It's from noon until 2 p.m. Jimmy Hempel will be making it very festive, as he always does with his DJ abilities, and it's at Town Hall, 402 Kearny Avenue in Kearny. Make sure you're there. It is going to be, as it says on the flyer, magical, because anything that the Recreation Commission does always tends to be magical. So I hope that all of you who have children in that age group will come on Tuesday and have a great experience. It's all brought to you by the Kearny I'm going to start this again in English. The Kearny Recreation Commission and the Kearny Rec Department under Ralph Taffy's great leadership. So be there on Saturday, the 2nd of September, this weekend. Now, let's say this. There are a few things I need to get to today, okay? And the first one that I want to talk to you about is something that happened that is too late for this week's edition of The Observer, because we went to press yesterday, as we do each and every week. We go to press on Monday afternoon, and I'm going to report to you today that the person you see on the screen here, Mayor Carol Jean Doyle, was appointed or elected the chairwoman of the Kearny Regular Democratic Organization, which is a somewhat traditional thing, because in the past, the party that controls the mayor's seat, whatever that party is, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, that person has traditionally become the chairperson of the party. Sue McCurry, who is a retired 4th Ward councilwoman, was the chairwoman of the Kearny Democratic Party, and she oversaw the election of November 7th, and I think, as everybody knows, that didn't go the way the Kearny Democratic Party had planned it. And so Sue resigned on yesterday. She resigned the chairmanship yesterday in a very, very, very gracious manner. And she sent out a letter to all members of the county committee in which she called for unity in the party, because, as everybody knows, it's not you don't need to be brilliant to know, come 1 year or 11 months from now, the United States of America has a presidential election, and I think you all know what the stakes are in this election coming up. It is going to be a nail-biter in all likelihood. So in her letter, Sue McCurry called for unity in the party to unite around a candidate for president of the United States. Whether that's Joe Biden, I don't know. We don't know. There's still plenty of time left. That's not the discussion we're here to have today, however. The discussion we're here to have today, though, is that in this letter, Sue McCurry, as the outgoing and now former chairwoman of the Democratic Party, said that what she wanted to see was a unified Democratic Party for the town of Kearny. And by resigning, that was step one, I believe, in her eyes. And step two was to then nominate Carol Jean Doyle for the chairwomanship of the Democratic Party. I can tell you today that vote was 100% in her favor this time. The other thing that the county committee did yesterday was to replace her in the seat that she was removed from because she, quote-unquote, supposedly broke the bylaws of the Democratic Party by having the audacity to run as a candidate who was not affiliated last year, as you recall. She is a lifelong Democrat, but on the ballot she was listed as an unaffiliated candidate, and apparently that was enough to remove her from the county committee chair that she had had for many, many years in the 8th district of the 3rd Ward. Well, they solved that by putting her back into that seat in the 3rd Ward, one that probably should never have been stripped away from her in the first place, but it happened, and I'm not going to belabor a point and beat it to death, because the right thing was done in that case when she was placed back basically on the county committee. Now, the county committee had one final job to perform yesterday, and that job was to come up with the names of 3 people who would be the potential new 3rd Ward member of the council, because as many of you probably remember, because she became the mayor, Carol Jean had to didn't have to resign, but she automatically lost her seat as a 3rd Ward member of the Kearny Town Council. Well, this is what basically happened. I'm going to tell you the names of the 3 people who the county committee came up with to become the next member of the council. The first person is a young man named Christopher Kayak. I do not know him personally, but what I do know is that Chris Kayak is the grandson of the late, great Barbara Cifelli Sherry, who we still to this day miss very, very much, and I personally loved Barbara. Barbara was a wonderful woman, and it's very, very sad that she's no longer with us. But one of the 3 people who were nominated to replace Carol Jean is Christopher Kayak, who is a 3rd Ward resident. I don't think he's involved in too much in Kearny. I'm not familiar with him, but from the research that I was able to do over the last 12 hours, I don't think he's involved in many civic activities or organizations, but I believe he works for the Kearny Board of Education. So beyond that, I really can't tell you that much about him. The second candidate I know even less about, and his name is Renato da Silva, again, another 3rd Ward resident, and I understand he has a family in Kearny, and he likes soccer and a few other things, but I was unable to find anything on his social media about civic involvement, so I really can't tell you anything more about him. The third person who was nominated to replace Carol Jean Doyle on the 3rd Ward Council seat is Fred Esteves. Fred is the brother-in-law of former Mayor Alberto G. Santos. So Fred is married to Al Santos' sister. Now, it's my understanding that there has been some sort of falling out with Al and Fred, but this is what the county committee came up with. My guess is that there was some kind of brokered deal here. I'm not sure what it was, but this just makes absolutely zero sense, really, when you think about it. And I'm going to tell you why I think this makes little sense. If I don't know all that much about this group of people other than Fred, and I don't think he has any business being on the council, because we just don't need another person who has been involved forever and ever and ever. As we this is just, I don't want to get into it, but Fred should not be on the council. Let's just put it that way. The other two we don't know much about. But I'm going to tell you 3 people who I know for certain were up for the nomination and who didn't get it. Those 3 people are Larry Hanlon, who is in this chat room today with us right now. And I think every single one of you know that Larry Hanlon is civically inclined. He is a former inspector in East Newark. He has been around for many, many years, and he's done a lot of things for people as a non-elected official, and he would have been a phenomenal choice. The second person is Christina Montague. If you don't know who Christina Montague is, you slept through the Keegan landfill ordeal, and she was, I would say, if you had to rank the people who worked on this initiative, you had Mayor Santos, who did the bulk of the work, and Christina Montague, as a civilian, did the majority of the other work in fighting to get the Keegan landfill closed, which, by the way, I may remind you all, actually happened back in 2019. December of 2019, the Keegan landfill was permanently closed. And if it were not for Christina Montague being very, very ticked off at that, I'm not sure we're sitting here today with a closed Keegan landfill. I really don't. And not only did she do that, and did she fight that for almost a year, probably even longer than a year, if I'm honest, and going back. She is involved with the Junior Women's Club of Arlington and several other civic organizations. And oh, by the way, she only just spearheaded a couple of months ago the most successful fundraising campaign in JWCA history. And she's got a wonderful family, her son Jim and her daughter and her family. I had a chance to meet them all during the Keegan landfill. She comes from a wonderful family, and she would have been a phenomenal nominee. And the third person who was also ignored was Ed Shea. Ed Shea, of course, works for the County of Hudson. He is extremely involved with the What Theater Company, and he is also I think he's the secretary or the treasurer of the Democratic Party as well, and he also comes with him a very, very impressive resume. Melanie just reminded me something, too. If you are trying to remember who Christina Montague is, you shouldn't have forgotten her, because it hasn't been that long, but not everybody's memory is as great as Melanie's is, and mine in other regards. Her nickname is Dolce Vita. That's what she was called on social media, was Christina Montague. So if you remember seeing Dolce Vita on Facebook, you will remember now who she is when I say Christina Montague. So please realize that. She's also a member, Irish, where's that Larry? But here's the bottom line. Those were three candidates. Those were three candidates. Those were three people. There may have been more. I suppose there could have been, because I had heard at one point there may have been up to 9 people who showed interest. I'm not going to get into them because these are the ones that were tossed around at the meeting last night. But Larry Hanlon, Christina Montague, and Ed Shea, take your pick of the litter. You've got a great new representative on the Kearny Town Council. You take these names, again, and I say this with due deference to all of the people who are named here. Christopher Kayak, Barbara Sherry's grandson, probably a great human being, but not civically involved, I don't think. Renato da Silva, don't know him, never met him, couldn't pick him out of a lineup, but I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he is. Fred Esteves, you take that with a grain of salt. But that's what you're going to get when the Kearny Council meets on the 5th of December, I believe, is the next date. Melanie, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And what they will have to do is choose from those three who they want to be the next council member in the 3rd Ward. I got to be honest with you. I don't see any scenario where any of those three get enough votes to become a member of the council. They are going to need 5 votes in order for that to happen, okay? Because you remember one thing. The council is normally 9 people, but 1 seat is empty. So there are 8 members of the council who will be there. In order for the person to be chosen, I believe it has to be a 5-3 vote. I don't think it has to be 6-2. But the bottom line is they're going to need at least 5 votes, and I don't see any one of those 3 getting those 5 votes. So as much as the Democratic Party said they wanted unity and they wanted to get things on the same page and move ahead after this election, 5 minutes after they choose a new chairperson and put her back on the county committee, they pull this stunt. And it's nothing short of a stunt. I don't care what anybody says. That's exactly what it is. And it's another one that's going to backfire. It really is. It is just a stunt. None of those 3 have enough to get the votes. And I think that's probably a good thing, because they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. I think they're going to have to go down to the drawing board because Melanie says, I don't think they propose all three, but they put one on the agenda and vote for that one. So let's just say it's Fred, okay? Because I think of those three, Fred would be the most known of the three. I don't think he's got 5 votes. I really don't. I really don't. And I don't think any of the other three, if either one of those are the names that are put on the agenda, they have enough votes to become the next member of the council. And good, because, again, this is another one of those stunts. They tell you that this is something that was supposed to be a unification, and then they pull this garbage. So what happens after that becomes the bigger issue, too, though, because that will mean that after 30 days of the seat being open, it's supposed to be filled by 30 days. They're not going to have anybody to put in there. So then the question is, does the county committee have to go and pick another slate? Do they pick another candidate from the three? Do they go ahead and do they say, we'll just give you a full 3 new ones? Does the mayor then get the authority to appoint whomever she wants to the position? We don't know the answer to that, and I believe they are looking into what happens as a contingency or a fallback to this. But the bottom line is, I'll just say it again, these are the 3 people who the Democrats gave you: Fred Esteves, Renato Da Silva, and Chris Kayak. And none of the 3, I think, are ready or qualified or suited for this position. And as much as they said they were trying to unify the Democratic Party, I think it had the reverse effect of further disunification, and that is abhorrent. So I'm going to take a little rest from this now, because I think I've kind of explained it to death, and I hope I've made some kind of sense. And there'll be a lot of discussion in the next couple of days until we get to that date. But let's see what happens. This is a very, very interesting thing indeed, as it never seems to fail in the town of Kearny. Now, just a couple of other things that are in this week's edition that I want to bring to you today. The first one is this. Mayor Fife is in this picture, and he's with Larry Kelly and Larry Bennett in Harrison. And the Harrison Elks donated $2,500 to the Just Harrison Food Bank, and they also donated $4,000 in ShopRite gift cards as well. You know, the Harrison East Newark Elks do a phenomenal job. Larry Kelly sent this picture over. The Exalted Ruler is in there, too. I think Justine is her name. And they do a phenomenal job over there. And so I had to highlight this, because at this time of year, when you talk about donations, $6,500 is a lot of money to donate to a food pantry. So congratulations, and a big, big, big tip of the cap to the Harrison East Newark Elks, who always seem to come through no matter when people are in need. They always do a phenomenal job. And this was the front page story this week, and this was so cool. You know, Laura Compton is an art teacher at Washington Middle School, but she does some writing for us on the side on occasion. She's a wonderful artist and a very good writer, too. And she said, I have this great story for you. It's right after Thanksgiving. I think you're going to love it. She always knows when we're going to love a story. There's a club at Washington Middle School whose decision was that they wanted to do a big food drive, right? And their goal was they wanted to collect 1,000 items of non-perishable food for Thanksgiving. They collected 5,000 instead, 5 times what their initial goal was. This is kids who are in the 6th through the 8th grade in Harrison. They all had meetings with Mayor Jim Fife. You can see Mayor Fife in the lower left corner of the picture, and Maureen Krug, the superintendent of schools in Harrison, and Maria Villa, who is in the back. She is a member of the Harrison Board of Education and Mayor Fife's assistant. And these kids who you see here wanted to do something special this year. They succeeded. They did amazing things, collecting over 5,000 items of non-perishable food that was donated to the people of Harrison who were otherwise in great need. A wonderful project that was spearheaded by Kim Madalena. I'm going to tell you something, folks. If you haven't met Kim Madalena yet, you are missing out on one of this area's greatest educators, period. All she ever does touches to gold. Everything she touches turns to gold. It is amazing. what this woman has done for this community. And all of it, surprisingly, is outside of the classroom. So this is all a bonus on top of what she does inside the classroom. These kids are learning. They're learning wonderfully. They're all becoming great writers and prolific readers, and they are going above and beyond the call of civic duty at such young ages, at 11, 12, 13, 14. And I salute Kim. I salute everybody at Washington Middle School and all the members of this club that I hope you will read about in this week's edition of The Observer, because what they are doing is nothing short of phenomenal. So check it out in this week's edition of The Observer. We have 2 pages of classifieds this week, as we do each and every week. So if you're looking for a place to rent or a job or anything of that nature, check those out on pages 16 and page 17. And as we do each and every week, if something breaks during the course of the week, we will join you live for some updates. Otherwise, we will be back here. Human trafficking part 2. Melanie, thank you. How the heck did I forget that? Stroke. So, you know what happens? 2 weeks ago, let's take it a little bit further back. Lisa had this idea because she was in a restaurant out in Lafayette in Sussex County, and the owner of the restaurant told her that the human trafficking posters were being made by the state of New Jersey, and they were going to have to appear in many, many establishments, bars, restaurants, clubs, nightclubs, schools, all this stuff, right? And then we later found out that basically nobody knew about this, even though it was a mandated requirement by the state of New Jersey's Attorney General's office. So she said that there's something ain't right about this. So she looked into it, and we did a story about it, and how indeed this is a requirement in so many places, and you can see that in last week's edition if you missed it this week. But this week we did a follow-up on the human trafficking report on the number of cases in the United States. And folks, when we tell you that there is an alarming number of human trafficking cases, and that these are the ones we know about, that's an understatement. And the one thing that I need to stress to everybody, and I think Lisa would probably agree with me on this, is that when you talk about human trafficking, number one, it is not always about a sexual thing. And number two, there is no pure definition of what a trafficked person looks like. It could be me, it could be you, it could be your neighbor, it could be your relative, it could be your significant other. There is no specific mold of a person who is a victim of sex trafficking. And so this program that the state is doing is very, very critical right now. It really is, not just for New Jersey, but nationwide. But the reason it's so critical in New Jersey is because, unlike many states, we are close in proximity to 3 metropolitan areas: New York City, Philadelphia, and Baltimore down in Maryland. And so the instances of human trafficking in New Jersey are astronomical. I don't have the exact New Jersey numbers yet, but the numbers we do have are from 2020 nationwide, and they're staggering. And the worst part about these numbers that you're going to see in this report this week is that that's the ones that we know about, because there are supposedly countless other cases that have not yet been reported. So that the sad reality is there are probably thousands of others that don't even get reported. And it kind of falls into line with what we've talked about in the past with domestic violence and things of that nature. It's a vicious, vicious cycle. So if I could recommend you read another story, it's certainly this one, the statistics about human trafficking. And I'm so sorry I forgot about it. And I thank my dear friend Melanie for giving me a swift kick in the butt right there at the end. So check it out in this week's edition of The Observer. That's going to do it for this week's edition. And I want to thank Melanie, Larry Handlin, who is here with us today, Carol Manley, our very own Lisa, who is here. I want to thank you very, very much. Also, let's see, anybody who may be watching who I didn't get to see in the chat room, I thank you for watching. We will be back 1 week from today. from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com. Kevin Knessa signing off for now, and we hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.